What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here today for a quick one. Our old pal Peter down in Florida has graced us with his presence on the Instagrams with one of his little State of the Unions. And they have a little announcement. They have special pricing going forward. To the best of my knowledge, there is no end date on this that I can see anywhere, but don't hold me to that. And this is targeted specifically, which we'll talk about this more in a second, at a category that they struggle in, and that is TCG, specifically Pokemon. So what's the price? What's the details? Directly through SGC, $15 a card. You could go through group submitters, not all group submitters, but most of the major group submitters. I know Baubles and Ball Cards has access to this, and I saw some other people posting about it. I think Slab Stock said they're in the program, as well as I'm sure with many others. You could do at $12 a card. So $15 a card direct, $12 per card through most of the larger group submitters for Pokemon only. No declared value, no restrictions, just basically any Pikachu, Charizard, whatever else these things are called. Those are the only two that I know. You could send those on in, and SGC will slab them on up and get them back to you probably within a couple days because their turnaround times are still lightning fast. This is something we have been talking about for a while. If you've watched the channel for a little bit and watched the gem rate updates, you'll know we discuss this almost every month when we break them down, that SGC really struggles in TCG non-sport. Now, that's a broad category, but the bulk of that is Pokemon by a mile. We could pull it up here. PSA is grading 410,000 Pokemon cards in December, just looking at December numbers. SGC graded 1.7K. Beckett graded 21,000. CGC graded 76,000. So you could see what a small fraction of the pie that SGC has in that space. So of those 5,000 cards, just under 2,000 of them are actually Pokemon. But Pokemon really drives the category. You can see it in PSA's numbers. Theirs was like 410,000, and they graded 450K cards total in the TCG non-sports space. So a massive percentage of those were Pikachus. And we just saw them do this with the Bowman thing. Yeah, that was a collaboration with Topps, so it was a little different. But they offered special pricing, and it got a bunch of Bowman cards in the door that they would not typically get. You know, if you look at the number spike that they got on Bowman for that, it definitely helped them get cards in the door for a category, you know, Bowman first autos, that in the past was typically dominated by Beckett. In this case, this feels like a more direct shot, kind of at all of them, but very specifically CGC and PSA, obviously, is the market leader. But CGC does really well. On the sports card side, they do struggle a little bit. You know, CSG's numbers struggle a little bit. But on the TCG side, they do quite well in the Pokemon space. Obviously not PSA level numbers, but no one's doing PSA level numbers. And SGC is basically doing nothing or little. So them doing anything like this is going to cause them to see a pretty big boost. And we'll probably see how this picks up almost right away. Because their turnaround times are so fast. So if something goes off to them, it's graded and back to you sometimes within a couple days. So, you know, as we kind of close out the second half of January here, we're going to know, like, okay, they graded how many the first 2 weeks of the month and how many the second 2 weeks of the month, how much this really pops. And very smart timing as well, because if you don't follow the Charizard space, there is Crown Zenith releasing later this week, which sounds like it's going to be an extremely popular. It's not a full-blown set. It's like a specialty / anniversary set or some nonsense. Regardless, people are hyped for it. So there's going to be tons of Crown Zenith packs ripped very shortly here. And people will look to get those graded and to market, and you can get those down to SGC pretty quickly and then to market pretty quickly. You might not maximize your value. Obviously, PSA is going to always sell for the most. I shouldn't say always, but for the time being, PSA is the dominant force in the resale market. But there is something to sending it down to Florida, getting it back in 3 days, and getting it on the market as a 10 before anybody else, while people's cards sit at PSA and process, and that quick churn and burn of graded cards. Now, how Pokemon does in SGC slabs, I honestly don't know. I am not familiar with graded Pokemon comps at all. I just know PSA is the dominant force, and CGC does okay. I don't know how, in the little numbers that they do put out, how SGC is accepted in that space. If you know, if you're a Pokemon guy or girl, in the comments down below, please feel free to let me know. The other thing that's going on too is Pokemon, with the next true set coming out, Scarlet and Violet, I believe, is changing the card design around. They're going to have silver borders instead of yellow. Those will honestly look a lot better in an SGC slab than a yellow border will, in my opinion. So there's, some of that going for them as well. But a clear shot to try to make inroads in the one space that they really do struggle in regards to market share. If anything, this is probably, if I had to guess, this is probably going to impact CGC the most. I feel like the PSA people are always going to be the PSA people, at least for a while. But I could see this impacting CGC's numbers the most if people really do take advantage of this. And I know a lot of people, because the price was so cheap. Now, this isn't as cheap. The Bowman deal was $9 a card. That's like a different level. But at $12 a card, if you're willing to go through a group submitter, that's pretty cheap. And you're going to get them back so fast. I know people that were using it as like a pre-grade almost on some of the stuff for the Bowman. I don't know if people would do that on Pokemon. Usually modern TCGs grade pretty well, typically. So we'll kind of see how this plays out. Like I said, with as fast as their turnaround times are, we will see this play out in near real time. So once again, if you are a Pokemon person, I don't know how many Pokemon people watch the channel. I know there's at least some, because I see them comment on occasion. But if you are a Pokemon person, especially one that grades, let me know your thoughts on this down below. Is this something that you would take advantage of? Do you not care? Is this meh? You're still going to use PSA and CGC because of the way the cards look in the holders? Are you intrigued? Just what's your general overall take on this as someone in the Pokemon space? Because like I said, that I don't know kind of how the secondary market respects the various slabs. You could tell obviously by who people grade with. And I know Beckett is regarded pretty decently in the TCG space as well, because people like to chase the black labels. But they clearly aren't even doing as much in regards to CGC when it comes to the Pokemon TCG space. So that's the update. $15 a card, $12 if you go through a group submitter. No limits, no declared value, and you'll get the cards back super fast. So that is where we sit as SGC really comes out of the gates first for big moves. Beckett announced their pricing, but it really wasn't massive changes from kind of what they were doing previously. CSG rolled their pricing over essentially on the sports card side of things. So CGC hasn't really done anything. They've been stuck in their prices for a while now. Maybe we'll see some movement out of them. And PSA is kind of running on their $19 thing at the moment. I still feel like PSA is taking January as, I don't want to say a month off, but as reevaluate things at the beginning of the year. Clear out those $15 orders they probably got a ton of as the month closed, and then just kind of start to evaluate exactly how many cards we get at this $19 level versus what we can process, and then kind of start to reshape their pricing going forward from there. I still expect some sort of pricing update from them, maybe by the end of the month or early February. Like I said, I think they kind of want to work through, I don't want to call it a backlog because the cards aren't late coming back to us, but I think they worked up a little pile of work with that $15 special ending. I know my current $15 order, which I got there, I think I got checked in like right after New Year's, flew through grading. It's been stuck in assembly for about a week, but we're still, they've had it maybe 18 days, 15 days, 20 days. I don't remember the exact numbers. So that's where we sit with that. As always, curious for your thoughts and comments down below. We will catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.